It's time for the Margin Matters Minute with Money Man Jason Brown.
All right, welcome back everybody. Jason Brown here with Margin Matters, and today we are talking about cars, automobiles, vehicles of transit, and most specifically the hidden costs of cars. So today I'm going to start out with telling you the cars that we have and the story of those. But before we start, we have a special guest appearance today. Little Money Man will be joining me in this video. He'll probably be running around a little bit, but he really loves cars. He likes playing in them. He likes pretending like he's driving them. So we have to keep an eye on him and make sure he doesn't actually drive it into one of the buildings here. So let's get started. So first I'm going to show you my wife's car. My wife bought this car before we got married. She actually purchased this car brand new. It's a 2008 Toyota Corolla, 4-door. It's just a small car. It's a very economical car. It gets a really good gas mileage. It gets about 40 miles per gallon. My wife, she bought it right off the lot. Her brother-in-law helped her with it at the time. We weren't together at the time, so when I married my wife, she was still paying on this car. I think she had about a $250 a month car payment. I asked her how much she paid for it new, and her best recollection was somewhere around $14,000. Of course, this was 12 years ago now. This is a 12, 13-year-old car. I want to show you how frugal my wife was, or maybe I don't know if it was frugality or maybe she just, at the time, she didn't have any money, and you probably won't see this in cars. She bought this car. It has show them, Little Money Man. It has the crank windows, the old school crank windows, and it has the push button locks. So no power windows, no power locks. I don't know if they even make cars like this anymore, but that was one of the ways that my wife saved money on this car. And then the other way she saved money was she bought the car. It didn't have cruise control, so she saved some money on that. Now, of course, later down the road, she actually added the cruise control to the car because it was worth the money for her to have it. So she added that later on. So this car right here, we've had it, like I said, about 12, 13 years. It's been a really good car for us. It's paid off now. We have so once you pay off the car, you have very little. There's no need for full collision comprehensive insurance coverage, right? So what we did was we called the insurance company. We said, just give us the bare bones, the liability coverage, and we save a lot of money that way because right now, Kelley Blue Book value, you can go to Kelley Blue Book. It's kbb.com. It's a really good website. It shows the values of cars, or if you're interested in buying a car, you can look up a car and see what it might be worth. This car right now, it probably, on a lucky day, it might be worth $2,500. So it's really not worth having full, insurance coverage on a car. Now here in Georgia, where I'm at, you're allowed to scale down to just a liability coverage. Different states might have different laws for their car insurance, so just check into your state's coverage on what they might provide if your car is paid off. But for us, it made sense just to go down to that liability coverage. I think we're paying somewhere like $20 a month, $20 or $30 a month for car insurance on the car, and we rarely drive it right now anyway. So that's another reason we don't put a whole lot of miles on it. So the other car I'm going to show you is my car. This is a Honda Element. It's a 2010 Honda Element. I purchased this used in January of 2014. So it was about a 4-year-old car when I bought it. And I don't know if that's unlocked. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, you can go in there and play. So this car, by the way, Honda doesn't make the Elements anymore. I think 2011 was the last year that they made the Element. So this car, they don't even make it anymore. It's a good car. It's an economical car. It has a lot of cargo room, a lot of headspace for me because I'm so tall. But I bought this car, ideally for me, I always want to pay cash for cars 100%. I don't want it, interested or, put it on a credit card or finance it. So with this car, unfortunately, the time of my life, I didn't have enough money saved up for this car. I paid $15,500 for this car. I found it off Auto Trader, bought it from a private seller, which allowed me to save a lot of money by not buying it from a dealership. You save money by not having to pay sales tax and a lot of other junk fees that a dealership would charge you. So buying from a private seller is really the way to go in saving money if you want to buy a used car. So like I said, I paid $15,500 for it. I had about half the money saved up. I had about $8,000 saved up. So I paid half up front in cash from my own bank, and then I went to my personal bank at the time was SunTrust, and I went to SunTrust and just got a small loan from them for the remaining balance of the car, which I think was about $7,500. So I got a $7,500 loan for this car. And then of course we hate debt, so we just paid that off as quick as we could. We probably paid that off over the next 6 or 8 months. I know we paid that off in less than a year. So we paid, so we got this car. We've had it ever since. It's a 2010 model. So here we are in 2020. So this is a good 10, 11-year-old car. And this car is now paid for. So we have 2 paid for cars. And our goal is to keep them as long as possible. Right, and just drive them until they won't drive anymore. But the thing about cars is they will last a long time if you take care of them, if you maintain them, if you keep them clean, if you change the oil regularly, make sure you're staying on top of the maintenance, change the tires, don't drive on bald tires, make sure you get the tires rotated. Just basic maintenance like that, your car will last a lot longer than you think it might. So now we're going to get into the hidden costs of cars. Now before we get into that, I want to talk just real quick about how our society and culture's mindset has changed on buying a car, right? So not that long ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, the general consensus was you never want a car loan more than 3 or 4 years. When you buy a car and you finance it from a dealership, a 3 or 4 year loan is this, that's what you want. And then it kind of over the course of time, and it became, people started getting 4-year loans and 5-year loans, and people would say, don't get anything more than a 5-year loan. Now what we're seeing is people are going bankrupt buying cars. People are buying cars with 7-year car notes, which is completely insane. People's cars, their car payments are either equaling or close to their mortgage payments or their rent payments, which to me is mind-blowing. The average cost of a car now is $33,000. A new car, the average cost of a new car is $33,000. Again, insanity. I don't know why anyone would spend that much money on a car. You can get a really good used car for $10,000, $15,000, even $7,500. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the hidden cost of cars, right? So it's not just the ticket price, it's how much a car is going to cost. So I wrote a few things down. AAA does a lot of good data they put out, and AAA, according to AAA, they say it costs $9,000 a year for the privilege of owning a car. So that's why you see a lot of people, like the frugal people, if you will, they're going down to a 1-car household. You can go down to a 1-car household, you are going to save a lot of money in the long run when you look at this breakdown. So $9,000 a year to own a car. So some of these expenses are right here that you might not take into account. So obviously you have your fuel. How much does it cost to put gas in your car each year? Every city's, different places of the country, the cost of gas is a lot different. In Atlanta, the gas is cheap. In Hawaii, the gas is expensive. In New York, the gas is expensive. So it just depends on where you are for the cost of gas. So you have to take that into account. I mentioned before tires, the cost of tires, just on a little car like this, my wife's Toyota, those are $125 tires. You're looking at $500 to replace all 4 tires. $500, just like that. So that's a major expense. The bigger the car, the bigger the tires, the more expensive it's going to cost to replace. And if you have a sports car or a performance car, those tires are going to be really expensive. And the other thing, let's say, of course, car insurance. How much is car insurance going to cost you? Do you have to have full coverage? Do you have to have comprehensive? What type of plan are you going to have for your car? It's usually going to be based on the value of your car. The newer the car, the more valuable the car, the more insurance you're probably going to have. Then we have taxes and fees, right? So every year you have to renew your tag. You have to, get your license. In Georgia we have ad valorem tax. You have to pay that. You have to pay a tag fee. You have to pay the right to own the car, to drive the car. So all those taxes have to be accounted into your costs. Then we have, now a lot of people, they can't afford to pay cash for a car, so they're going to have to finance the car. So what is the interest on your finance, on your payment plan? That needs to be taken into account. And then the other one I have here, parking and tolls. A lot of big cities have, express lanes, toll lanes, that you're going to have to pay for. And then, not everybody has free parking. So I know at my job, they don't provide parking, so I have to go to work. I have to pay to park. That's why I take public transit, to try to save a little money there. But those are just a few of the items. There's a lot more that I'm probably missing or forgetting about for the privilege to own a car. So for our cars, since I'm a money nerd, I keep an Excel spreadsheet. Here, hold this, little money man. I keep an Excel spreadsheet on every time I put money into the car. So every time I change the oil, I'm tracking those expenses. So I thought you guys would find this really interesting. I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget. So now, the only thing that I don't have tracked on the Excel spreadsheet is the insurance cost. So this is just for the maintenance and the repairs and the upkeep. Every time I change the oil. So for the Toyota, this is what's interesting. So the Toyota, for the life of the Toyota, 2008 Toyota we've paid $11,267.28. Over $11,000 just to maintain the car. That people don't think about that. So we've actually paid almost the exact amount that we paid for the car. We've paid for maintenance and repairs. Now the Honda Element is a little bit less. The Honda Element, we've paid $9,078.03 in repairs and maintenance and tires and oil changes. That's a tremendous amount of money over the course of time for the privilege of owning a car. And the other note about cars is cars depreciate in value. So you have to take that into account as well. So this Honda Element, I forgot to mention, this one is probably Kelley Blue Book value, maybe $4,500. So the value of our cars is very little. That's why we want to just keep driving them as long as we can, because it wouldn't make any sense for us to just go out and buy a new car just for the heck of it, because we're just going to be paying a lot of money for no reason. So those are some of my thoughts and ideas on owning a car, buying a car, things like that for you to take into consideration. One other note I want to say is, just living in a condominium complex, I observe how people, live their lives and spend their money. And what I've observed in my complex is people are buying new cars every 2 to 3 years, which is crazy to me, because they're buying new cars, not new used cars. They're buying brand new cars off the lot, $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000. There's people in here that drive $80,000 cars, high-end cars, and they're buying them every 2 to 3 years. So I'm not, I try not to judge, but it's pretty astonishing to me to see people spend that much money on a car. It just shows you where people put their value in. So those are some of my thoughts on cars. You can save a lot of money on cars if you buy from an individual private owner. Keep that in mind. Auto Trader's a great site for that. There's a lot of other sites and apps out there now that people buy cars off Craigslist still. So there's a lot of ways that you can save money on cars, but just take into account all of the expenses that you have to pay to own a car. So if you have 2 or 3 cars in your household, could you get rid of one car? Could you go from 2 to 1 or from 3 to 2? How much money would you save? You would save a lot of money. So think about those things. And while you're thinking about those things, check out my website, yourmarginmatters.com, and subscribe to my YouTube channel to support me. I really appreciate that. So hit the subscribe button. And also, one last note, this is Jason Brown saying it's not the amount of money you make, but the margin that matters the most. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.